Disney may now be known for its cutthroat business practices, but it was known for its villains at one point. In modern years, people have complained about villains in Disney movies. Still, most people agree that Disney shows have had some of the best villains in recent memory. But which of these villains are the worst of the worst? Which of them are not nearly as bad? I'm Anthony with Wicked Binge, and this is Animated Disney Channel Show Villains, Evil to Most Evil. This list has a couple of criteria. As the title implies, this list only considers villains from the animated shows. But these shows, and the villain we're talking about, needs to premiere on Disney Channel, not Disney XD, Disney Junior, or Disney Movies. Secondly, only 2 villains per show. Otherwise, this list would be much longer than necessary. So let's get started. Today, we'll be starting with the least evil and working our way down to the most reprehensible. The least villainous character on this list is Dawn Swatworthy from The Buzz on Maggie. Dawn is the main antagonist of The Buzz on Maggie and is a bully towards the main character, Maggie. She is vain, shallow, and selfish. She sees herself as a celebrity and is sometimes carried around on a throne by 2 strong flies. She ranks here because she's vain and snobby, but doesn't do anything villainous. She's just an antagonist. In a similar vein, Joctopus Ludwig Vandenbush from Fishhooks is up next. Joctopus is a simple-minded bully who thinks learning is dumb and goes to the same school as Milo, Bea, and Oscar. He's been called the strongest and most aggressive sea creature and is generally feared amongst the school. Joctopus is known for punching people and putting people in punch later boxes, so he'll remember to do so. However, he's not all bad. He kept his promise to stop stealing everyone's candy during Halloween and ran away crying when everyone laughed at him. Joctopus may be a bully, but he's not much more than that.
Joctopus is hitting you now!
OWCA's public enemy number 3, Dr. Heinz Doofenshmirtz from Phineas and Ferb, is next on our list. Doof may be the head of Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated, but he's not evil in the traditional sense. He's overdramatic, eccentric, and generally clueless in his attempts to take over the tri-state area. This Inator-making Love Muffin member has a goal to take over the tri-state area, but his incompetence stops him from being successful. He's constantly foiled by Perry the Platypus, usually because he puts a self-destruct button on his devices. However, the main reason he doesn't fall to the more evil side is because of his love for his daughter and his turn to the good side. He becomes a science teacher and a member of the OWCA. He even invents time travel and becomes Professor Time, helping Milo Murphy and his friends against the Pistachions.
Have some orange soda on the house!
Doof is very popular and well known for a good reason. Amphibia's Captain Grime is the next villain on our list. Captain Grime is the leader of the Toad Army who feels he must always be respected, leading to him being a cruel captain that berates his soldiers. Grime is cruel, intending to feed Hop Pop to a giant carnivorous plant. He even goes back on a promise he made not to do and still tries to do it anyway. On the other hand, he became friends with the human Sasha after she saves him from a giant heron. He then would return the favor later by saving her from a falling tower. He considers Sasha to be his only friend and treats her as such. He follows her advice to be nicer to his soldiers, but he is branded as a traitor for helping her. Grime is one of the few villains who turn over a new leaf and help the heroes, or at least a small portion of them. Moving on, we have the supposed entrepreneur Gaspar Le Gecko from Brandy and Mr. Whiskers. Gaspar is the self-proclaimed dictator and musical director of the Amazon rainforest who strongly desires to eat Mr. Whiskers. Le Gecko is the only person who can help Brady get home, but refuses to do so after her betrayal. However, Le Gecko isn't all bad. He will work with Brandy and Mr. Whiskers when it benefits him, and he is shown to have a hidden softer side. Le Gecko is worse than Captain Grime though, because he doesn't shift sides, remaining a villain by the end of the series. Evil scientist Dr. Drakin from Kim Possible is the next villain on our list. Drakin is a self-proclaimed megalomaniac and evil genius who is the archenemy of Kim Possible. Drakin has tried on multiple occasions to take over the world. However, he's shown to be highly incompetent, as most of his successes would not have been possible without Shigo or others. He's shown to be a coward when dealing with someone strong and confident. He's also shown to be scared of Shigo when she's angry. He ranks this low on the list because he helps Kim and Ron defeat Warmonga and Warhawk during the finale. However, had he been smarter and not laughed out of college, he may have been more of a threat. In a similar situation, Lord Hater from Wander Over Yonder is the next villain on our list. Hater is Wander's mortal enemy and the leader of the Watchdogs, whose goal is to rule the universe with an iron fist. But much like Drakin, he's too incompetent to be a consistent threat to Wander or anyone else. He's said to be a whiny, selfish, and insecure crybaby, while supposedly being a power-hungry, cruel dictator at the same time. The reason he ranks lower than Drakin is that not only is his goal worse than the Doctor's, but he can be a threat. When Hater is fixated on something, he will do anything to claim it. He destroys the entire Fist Fighter army in one punch and defeats Emperor Awesome in less than a second. Hater can be a genuine threat, unlike some previous entrants on this list. The secondary antagonist of Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures, Cassandra, is up next. Cassandra is the biological daughter of Mother Gothel and the adopted daughter of the captain of the Royal Guard. Gothel picked Rapunzel over her, abandoning her, which caused her to repress the memories of her mother. Cassandra is described as tough as nails, snarky, and sarcastic.
Way to go, Eugene.
When she remembers what Gothel did, she grows a grudge toward Rapunzel, easily manipulated by the shapeshifter Zon Tiri. However, after she betrays Rapunzel, she does feel bad and tries to reconnect, but she is constantly manipulated by Zon Tiri. We have a reason why we can't rank her any lower. While she does betray Rapunzel and leads to the rise of Zon Tiri, she was manipulated to this end. She does rank higher than Lord Hater because she is not as incompetent as he is. She can easily destroy things in anger and shows confidence in her skills. Similarly manipulated is Ludo from Star vs. the Forces of Evil, who ranks next on our list. Ludo is the archenemy of Star Butterfly, who wants to claim Star's wand as his own and use it to take over the universe. Ludo is the smallest member of his family and was treated poorly by them during his childhood. This causes Ludo to lock his family out of their castle and take over, also gaining an army. Ludo is malicious and selfish, but he's also childish and naive, which causes him to hire Toffee.
You idiots are screwing up the plan!
Ludo is manipulated by Toffee after he's kicked out of his castle and is eventually completely possessed by the other villain. The reason he ranks here is that he ultimately stops being thoroughly evil and reconnects with his family. However, unlike Cassandra, he's evil even before the manipulations from Toffee, which doesn't make him less evil than Cassandra. The second richest duck in Duckburg, Flintheart Glomgold from the 2017 DuckTales reboot, is up next. Glomgold is selfish, sneaky, and incredibly greedy. He wants to be better than Scrooge in every way: richer, more famous, and more Scottish. He's dishonest and will cross any line necessary to beat Scrooge, including cheating and murder. Glomgold is aggressive, cruel, and unhinged. However, he's also dumb as dirt, which is shown when he's duped into losing his fortune by Louis. He tries to destroy McDuck Manor even after helping Scrooge beat the Moonlanders. He pretends to be Scottish and wears a fake beard, with his whole outward appearance being fake. While he is stupid, he's not manipulated into evil like Ludo or Cassandra, landing him this spot.
Treasure is the greatest treasure of all. That's why it's called treasure.
From the Tent of Telepathy, Lil Gideon Gleeful from Gravity Falls is our next villain. Gideon is a self-proclaimed psychic and a wealthy tycoon who uses his cuteness to get what he wants. He's spoiled, ungrateful, selfish, and abusive to his parents and those around him.
I can buy and sell you, old man.
The only person he doesn't abuse is Mabel, whom he has a crush on. He nearly killed Dipper because he thought that Dipper was getting in the way of their relationship. He spies on the townspeople, tries to destroy or own the Mystery Shack, and is the one who summons Bill Cipher. The only reason he doesn't rank any lower is that his love for Mabel is enough to make him help Dipper. Yes, he's evil, but he could have been worse. CEO of Wholesome Foods, Chip Whistler from Big City Greens comes next on our list. Chip is cocky and arrogant, only caring about money and his vanity. He feels the need to surpass and destroy the competition, gloating over his victory against Cricket, who was no longer fighting. He was initially friendly towards the Greens, even ordering a case of vegetables from them. However, after biting into a fake apple, he vows revenge on them, especially after chipping his tooth. He tries to take down the greenhouse with a wrecking ball and then fakes his apology to the Green family afterward.
I'm sorry, from the bottom of my heart and stuff.
he makes up a fake petition to kick the Greens out. Even after he fails to boot them out of Big City, he tries to kill all of them with his helicopter, only to be booted himself out of the city. Chip truly hates the Greens, and he goes way overboard, all over a chipped tooth he repairs repeatedly. First Order soldier Tierney from Star Wars Resistance is the next villain on our list. Tierney is an agent of the First Order Security Bureau who was tasked with tracking down Team Fireball. She interrogates Tamara Revora and manipulates her into joining the First Order by driving a wedge between her and her employer. She tries to kill Team Fireball multiple times and manipulates Tamara in numerous different ways. She's also responsible for the bombardment of the AO system, killing hundreds of thousands of people for supporting the resistance. Her body count is one of the most expansive on the list. However, her actions were all under orders, which saves her from falling lower on the ranking. Kim Possible's Shigo is the next villain on our list. Shigo is well known for her explosive temper and is known to react to things with violence. She is very abrasive, teasing and outright berating those around her, especially Dr. Drakin.
Can you not be weird, please?
Unlike the previous villains on this list, she takes great pleasure in being evil. She's probably the first purely evil villain on this list. She's also the only villain on this list to have 11 different countries with warrants out for her arrest, which pushes her ranking towards this half of the list. She may not have Tierney's body count, but her propensity for evil is 10 times that of the previous entrants. Ranking next on our list is Obake from Big Hero 6, the series. Obake is a cold-hearted scientist who desires to leave a mark on the world by destroying San Francisco and rebuilding it in his image. Obake wants to cause an apocalyptic event to be seen as a famous figure. He tries to accomplish this by having surveillance all over San Francisco. He hacks into Alistair Cray's computer systems and tricks Honey Lemon into giving him the diary of Lenore Shimamoto. He creates a device strong enough to destroy San Francisco. He imprisons Hiro to make him watch the destruction and turn him into his student. He eventually dies alongside his work, satisfied with his care from Baymax.
I am satisfied with my care.
He isn't in the bottom 3 or any lower because of the explosion that started all this. He built a device that exploded and damaged the part of his brain that tells him right from wrong. He literally can't tell right from wrong, making all his horrendous actions slightly less intentionally evil. The big bad of the Owl House, Emperor Bellows, is the next villain on our list. Bellows is the omnipotent and megalomaniacal emperor of the Boiling Isles. Bellows is strict and impatient towards failure, but lenient towards important minions. However, he's a liar, promising Lilith something he didn't intend to keep.
Don't be so naive, Lilith. This is the Titan's will.
He's shown not to understand loyalty. He takes care to protect his image of strength, shrugging off Lilith's betrayal. Bellows doesn't rank lower because he's doing what he thinks is best for the Boiling Isles, having ended the Savage Ages from many centuries ago and expressing no interest in invading the human world. Our next villain on the list is the Huntsman from American Dragon Jake Long. The Huntsman is the leader of the Hunts clan, whose life purpose is to kill dragons and other mythical creatures. The Huntsman is the 4th greatest threat to the dragon world. He's obsessed with slaying mythical creatures, especially dragons, who he considers freaks of nature. But this hate extends past mythical creatures, killing humans he believes are traitors and feeding failing students to a creature called the Kraken. He's also not against kidnapping, having stolen Rose from her parents when she was young and threatening to kill them when she was older. He's shown to be more consistently threatening and evil than Bellows. He is completely sure of his actions, unlike some previous entrants.
This is not over, dragon!
Son of King Pistachian, Derek from Milo Murphy's Law is the next villain gracing our list. Derek is a Pistachian, a sentient race of pistachio trees accidentally created by Milo Murphy. He was knocked off with a time limo and into the time stream in the year 1955, where he plans to overtake the human race by incorporating a long-time scheme that goes relatively well. He brings Milo, Dakota, and Cavendish to 1965 as part of this scheme, where he builds his army of Pistachians to overthrow humans. Derek is bent on world domination and tries his best for revenge. However, he is eventually erased from the time stream. The very recognizable Magicka Dispel from DuckTales 2017 is next on our list. Magicka was an old enemy of Scrooge and tried to steal his #1 dime before being sealed in prison that she meant for the richest duck in Duckburg. She is entirely motivated by her scorn for the McDuck family, creating a sentient shadow named Lena. She forces Lena to serve her attempts on the McDuck family and her attempts to steal Scrooge's dime. She hates that Lena befriends the McDuck children and tries to manipulate her into not doing so. She is one of the only villains on this list to complete her goal. She traps Scrooge and takes control of Duckburg for a moment before being stopped by Donald and company. After her defeat, she loses her magic, but still tries to control Lena and get revenge on Scrooge. Her plan goes much better than Derek's, which puts her slightly above Derek. Starting off our bottom 5, Toffee from Star vs. the Forces of Evil is next. Toffee is a mysterious being and the archenemy of Queen Moon Butterfly. He is hired by Ludo as an evil efficiency expert to help Ludo capture Star's wand. However, Toffee overthrows Ludo and takes control of his armies, which leads to his battle with Star. Toffee was able to kidnap Marco and orchestrate Ludo's firing of Buff Frog, leading him to manipulate Star into destroying her wand. After his supposed death, he manages to manipulate Ludo through his wand and take possession of him. He manages to destroy parts of the High Magic Commission while in Ludo's body. He was even able to destroy most of the magic in the universe with his powers until he's defeated by Star. He is evil and has done some heinous things. However, at the very least, he's a good host. He offered Marco a sandwich after all. Right outside the bottom 3 is Zon Tiri from Rapunzel's Tangled Adventures. Zon Tiri is a power-hungry demon sorceress who wants control of 2 mystical stones. Long in the past, she got into a war with the engineer and her friend Lord Demantius for the power she gains from the Sundrop and Moonstone. She corrupts the magic of the Great Tree and makes it her magic base before she's forced into a prison of her own design. Even from her prison, she tries to destroy the Kingdom of Corona and manipulates Cassandra in many ways. She manages to manipulate Cassandra into freeing her, which causes her to start her plan of vengeance. Even after manipulating Cassandra, she betrays her. She destroys parts of the kingdom and an entire army with the Decay incantation. Zon Tiri was able to manipulate her way to power. However, unlike the bottom 3, her manipulations are not as strong as the evil power they hold. Moving on to the bottom 3, the Bronze Medal of Evil belongs to King Andreas Leviathan from Amphibia. Leviathan is the king of Newtopia, and on the surface seems to be a goofy, fun-loving newt. He promised Marcy, Sasha, and Anne a way home to Earth. However, he doesn't rank this low for no reason. He's a massive liar, and his entire persona is nothing more than a lie. He promised not to throw Sprig off the flying castle after he got the Calamity Box, but does it anyway.
Allow me to demonstrate.
He tries to kill Anne and impales Marcy with a flaming sword as they tried to leave. His body count may not be the most massive, still his repeated lies and manipulations make him a much larger threat, especially since he wants to take over Earth. Grabbing the Silver Medal of Evil is Wander Over Yonder's Lord Dominator. Dominator is a silent, intimidating figure that is feared throughout the galaxy, at least when she's in her armor. Outside of her armor, she's a fun-loving maniac who's ecstatic about her evil accomplishments. She can force all of the galaxy's villains to be subservient to her and then imprison them. Her goal is not to control the galaxy, but to destroy every planet in it because she loves watching a planet shrivel up and die. She manages to destroy most of the planets in the galaxy and grows depressed because of this. Dominator is one of the few villains whose plan comes to fruition. While Lord Dominator is the #1 villain in the galaxy, she's overshadowed by one particular Dorito.
Oh, this is just the cherry on top I was looking for!
The Gold Medal of Evil belongs to none other than the evil Dorito himself, Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Bill Cipher is an evil demon who's older than the universe itself and has been manipulating people since the beginning of humanity. Bill is determined to spread chaos and anarchy throughout any dimension he resides in.
Maybe not right now, but things change, Stanford Pines.
Bill has the highest body count on this list. He's destroyed an entire dimension just because it was filled with flat people with flat minds. Even after destroying them, he tricked Ford into making a dimensional portal so he could arrive in Gravity Falls to spread chaos there as well. When he arrives, he traps Mabel in a bubble and turns most of the townfolk into statues. He also turned Ford into a golden back scratcher and threatened the wider world. Bill is a pure maniac who lives only to spread chaos and has no morals to speak of, which easily hands him the gold. With that said, let's award some Sinner medals. The Darwin medal belongs to Flintheart Glomgold. Glomgold was tricked out of his fortune by Louis Duck and is described as dumb as dirt, which is apt. Grabbing the Sloth medal is Captain Grime. After Grime is labeled a traitor, he decides to stay inside and would prefer to watch Mystery Island over doing anything else, very slovenly. But the Gluttony medal is the property of Gaspar Le Gecko. Le Gecko's whole goal is literally to eat one of the main characters. You can't get more gluttonous than that. The Lust medal belongs to Lord Hater. Hater falls in love with Lord Dominator as soon as she appears on screen and follows most of her orders out of a non-reciprocated love. The owner of the Envy medal is Obake. He desires to be loved and is envious of those who have achieved this goal, which is a pretty cut and dry example. We're giving the Wrath medal to Joctopus. Joctopus is perpetually angry and punches anything and everything. The Pride medal is going to Dawn Swatworthy. Dawn literally sees herself as a celebrity. If that isn't pride, what is? Finally, the Greed medal is exemplified in Chip Whistler. Chip is a whiny brat who cries when he's cut from the company, and every action he takes is for money to some degree. But that's all for our list. Let us know in the comment section if you agree with our ranking, and tell us what we should cover next. Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.